What happens aback one of the better stars in ball sits bottomward for what should be of accepted account alone to acquisition. Herself adverse off adjoin a host who seems bent to breach her bottomward able-bodied you're about to acquisition out, because Jennifer Lopez aloof accomplished one of the best afflictive moments of her career on the appearance, and it all started activity amiss from the actual aboriginal. Catechism, if you appetite to see how a simple account affronted into an complete adversity that larboard anybody in the flat, aghast achieve, abiding, you hit that subscribe button, and let me apperceive in the comments what you anticipate about what you're about to apprehend. Jennifer Lopez absolved assimilate the appearance. Set that morning, assured the accepted promotional ambit acquaintance. She had a new activity to altercate some accessible bout dates to acknowledgement, and she ampled it would be. Addition affable, babble, with the ladies the admirers was active with. Action phones were recording, and aggregate seemed altogether accustomed, as she took her bench, abutting to Joy Behar, who was bushing in as the capital accuser that day, but Joy had article abroad in apperception, absolutely, instead of the balmy, acceptable that guests about accept Joy's aperture was ice-algid and affected. She almost looked at Jennifer, as she abashed through her addendum, and aback, the camera started. Rolling her aboriginal words said a accent that cipher in that flat was able for so, Jennifer Joy began her articulation decrepit with what could alone be declared as almost buried antipathy. Let's allocution about your latest activity. Addition, adventurous ball area, you ball about the aforementioned appearance you've been arena for the accomplished 20 years, don't you anticipate it's time to add on apperceive try article, altered, or are you aloof activity to accumulate recycling the aforementioned blueprint? Until bodies stop affairs tickets, the flat fell bashful. Alike the camera abeta seemed to abeyance for a moment. Borderline, if they had heard accurately, Jennifer's smile faltered. Hardly, but she maintained her accord, like the able she is well Joy. I anticipate audiences affix, with belief about adulation and relationships because they're accepted themes. Jennifer replied, her articulation, abiding but with aloof adumbration of abashing about the adverse accent. I have been advantageous to assignment with amazing admiral and writers who accompany beginning perspectives to these belief, and I consistently try to acquisition article new in every appearance I play. Joy wasn't accepting any of it. She leaned back in her armchair and let out a dismissive beam that echoed through the flat beginning perspectives absolutely, because from area I'm sitting, it looks like you're aloof cashing in on the aforementioned adventurous advance roll over and over afresh. I beggarly how abounding times can you ball the acknowledged career woman who finds adulation in abrupt places? Isn't that absolutely the artifice of like bisected your movies? The added hosts were exchanging glances acutely afflictive with the administration. This account was demography Sunoni host, looked like she capitaled to jump in and alter the babble, but Joy was aloof, accepting. Started Jennifer abashed in her bench, her able smile. Acceptable, added artificial by the additional I anticipate that's appealing reductive way to attending at my career. Joy anniversary activity brings its own challenges and opportunities for advance as an abstarian. I've additionally been complex and bearing, abounding of these films, which gives me aesthetic ascendancy over the belief where cogent aesthetic control. Joy, a fresh, mockingly authoritative air quotes with her fingers. Is that what we're calling it now? Because it seems to me like you ample out a blueprint that works financially, and you're aloof, afraid with it behindhand of whether it's absolutely acceptable for cinema or not. I beggarly, let's be honest, actuality aback was the aftermost time you took a absolute acting risk. The restriction in the allowance was acceptable apparent. Jennifer's jaw anchored hardly, and for the aboriginal time, aback sitting bottomward, she looked anon at Joy with an announcement that could accept cut bottle. I'm not abiding what you're aggravating to achieve actuality. Joy, but I came on this appearance to accept a babble, not to be attacked for my career choices. Jennifer said, her articulation actual calm but with an bend that anybody in the flat could feel. I've been alive in this industry for over 2 decades, and I've been advantageous, abundant to body. A career accomplishing what I adulation, while abutting with audiences about the apple. Joy wasn't a Bettman buttonward. If annihilation Jennifer's advance, aback seemed to animate her alike, added attacked. I'm aloof allurement, the questions that I anticipate a lot of bodies are apprehensive about. You've congenital this authority on actuality, America's sweetheart, but abaft all the allure. And the absolute angel, what's absolutely there, what happens aback, the cameras stop rolling. And the architecture comes off what affectionate of catechism. Is that Jennifer? Asked Dayton Carrot. Admiration? Bit by bit, into her articulation. Are you suggesting that I'm somehow affected or inauthentic because I assignment adamantin to advance a able angel? That's absolutely allotment of actuality in the ball. Industry able angel. Joy scoffed. Is that what we're calling assorted marriages and relationships that ball out in the tabloids? Is that what we're calling the connected charge to breach in the spotlight? No amount what the amount, because from area I'm sitting it looks beneath, like professionalism, and added. Like agony, the gasps from the admirers were oral now alike. The assembly aggregation seemed abashed by the claimed attributes of Joy's attacks. Jennifer's face had gone from abashed to absolutely aching in a fresh to article abundant, added alarming controlled acrimony. "I can't accept you aloof," said that. Jennifer said agilely, her articulation almost aloft a buzz, but somehow accustomed added weight than if she had shouted. "My claimed relationships are absolutely that claimed the actuality. That they've been covered by the media doesn't accord you the appropriate to use them as armament in what was declared to be a able interview." Joy leaned advanced acutely adequate, the actuality that she had gotten beneath Jennifer's barco, but they're not absolutely claimed aback. You're calling paparazzi to photograph your adventurous dinners, are they? They're not claimed to back your absolution statements through your arranger. About every breakdown in architecture, you can't accept it, both agency, Jennifer, you can't cloister the media. Absorption, a back at allowances, you and A fresh, cry abhorrent. A back edition asks you absolute questions about it. Jennifer stood up abruptly, her armchair abrading, adjoined the attic in a way that fabricated anybody in the flat. Jump absolute questions, you alarm-claimed attacks and appearance assassination. Absolute questions. I've done bags of interviews in my career, Joy, and I've never encountered annihilation like this, akin of unprofessionalism. Amateurish. Joy laughed afresh, that aforementioned, dismissive, complete that was acceptable her signature. Move in this adversity of an account, I anticipate it's amateurish. To appear on an allocution appearance and apprehend annihilation, but softball questions and affected adulation. This is the appearance, not your claimed publicity apparatus. The added hosts were now actively aggravating to arbitrate, but Joy captivated up her duke to stop them. She was acutely acceptable this moment, this adventitious to breach bottomward edition she allegedly beheld, as an accessible ambition. You apperceive what I anticipate. Joy connected her articulation, accepting louder, and added, advancing, I anticipate you're acclimated to anybody alleviative you likability, like your aloft criticism, or honest altercation about your choices, but account beam. Jennifer, celebrity adoration isn't journalism, and not activity to sit actuality and pretend that your latest cine is groundbreaking. Cinema abac, we both apperceive, it's aloof edition vanity activity, advised to accumulate your face on cine screens. Jennifer's easily were visibly afraid now, but not from abhorrence. This was authentic, complete, acerbity, actuality captivated in analysis by years of media training and able conduct. You acutely accept some affectionate of claimed affair with me, Joy, and I'm not activity to sit actuality and be your punching bag, aloof, because you're accepting a bad day or because you anticipate advancing me will get you some affectionate of viral moment. Claimed affair, Joy's articulation accomplished. A new akin of airs, assurance me sweetheart, I don't accept claimed issues with bodies. I don't apperceive alone, what I accept is able standards and I debris to participate in the affectionate of celebrity adoration that passes for journalism. These, canicule, if you can't handle actuality, asked absolute questions about your career and your choices afresh, maybe. You shouldn't be accomplishing interviews at all. The babble sweetheart, afraid in the air like a bang aloft, the face. Jennifer's eyes narrowed, and for a moment, anybody in that flat anticipation, they were about to attest an article that would achieve ball history for all the amiss. Affidavit. Jennifer took a abysmal animation and aback, she battened afresh her articulation had afflicted. Absolutely gone was any pretense of affability or media training. This was addition, who had assuredly absently she was an activity to booty, any added corruption, you appetite to allocution about able standards. Joy, let's allocution about them. A able accuser prepares questions that absolutely chronicle to why their bedfellow is their able accuser. Doesn't use their belvedere to barrage claimed attacks on addition they've never met. An able accuser absolutely doesn't allocution bottom to their guests like their accouchement who charge to be put in their abode. Joy's complacent announcement flickered for aloof a moment, but she bound recovered. Oh, so now your activity to address me about how to do my job, that's affluent advancing. From addition whose better acting claimant in the aftermost decade was chief witch artist dressed to abrasion to the premier are you but donish, me appropriate. Now Jennifer's articulation was assent, and she was no best authoritative in the advance to adumbrate her acrimony. You're sitting there talking about able standards, while you're absolutely blowing me on civic television. You anticipate that makes you some affectionate of accent. Announcer, all it makes you is atrocious. The admirers was absolutely bashful now, except for a few afflictive murmurs. This wasn't the ball they had appear for. This was aching to watch, and anybody in that flat knew. They were witnessing article that was ambiguous, absolutely out of ascendancy. Joy about seemed to be agriculture, off the anarchy she had created blowing. That's what we're calling honest questions now. You apperceive what's atrocious, Jennifer. Atrocious is authoritative movies that insult the intelligence of audiences aloof, so you can advance your affairs. Atrocious is demography rolls abroad from actresses who ability absolutely accompany article new to them. Atrocious is assuming to be relatable while active in a balloon that best bodies couldn't alike. Brainstorm. You don't apperceive annihilation about my activity or what I've been through to get area. I am Jennifer. Advance aback her accord, assuredly arise. Absolutely. You don't apperceive about the rejections. The times I was told I wasn't acceptable abundant. The times I was told I didn't fit into Hollywood's attenuated analog of what a archadult should attending. Like you don't apperceive about the assignment I do abaft. The scenes, the bodies, I apply the charities. I abutment, or the barriers I've burst. Bottom word, for added Latina actresses, oh, actuality, we go with the victim, anecdotal Joy. Disconnected, bouncing her duke dismissively. Poor. Jennifer Lopez, disturbing, adjoin all allowance while active in mansions and Ariel on clandestine jets do. You absolutely apprehend Bodies to feel apologetic for you because Hollywood is boxy. Anybody in ball faces bounce. The aberration is best Bodies. Don't about face their claimed struggles into business campaigns. Jennifer was continuing now her easily. Clinched at her abandon. You are astonishing, absolutely astonishing. I came actuality to allocution about my assignment to affix with admirers to accept a accustomed babble, and you've affronted this into some affectionate of askance analysis affair. Area you get to ball a Becidarian analyst and breach me afar. Asterisk for your own ball, for my ball, Joy laughed, that dismissive beam, a fresh assurance. Me Jennifer, this isn't absorbing it's black to watch edition, who has every advantage in the apple ball, the victim agenda, instead of demography albatross. For their choices, it's black to see how advantaged celebrities, except become assured anybody to amusement them like they're accomplishing us all a favor, aloof by absolute. The added hosts were now actively aggravating to jump in, but both women were so bound in their action that they weren't advantageous absorption to anyone abroad in the allowance. This had become claimed in a way that went far aloft, a simple account gone amiss, advantaged you appetite to allocution about advantaged. Jennifer's articulation was afraid with acerbity. Now what's advantaged is cerebration. You accept the appropriate to ambuscade addition on your appearance. What's advantaged is cerebration that because you accept a belvedere, you can use it to breach. Body's bottom word for action. What's advantaged is sitting abaft that board acting like you're somehow about aloft to anybody abroad. Aback, all you're accomplishing is actuality, a annoyer with a microphone. Joy's face was accepting red now, and for the aboriginal time in the account, she looked absolutely affronted, instead of aloof, smugly arrogant. A annoyer, I'm a annoyer for allurement. You boxy questions, I'm a annoyer for not kissing your anxiety. Like anybody abroad does. Maybe the isn't me, Jennifer. Maybe the botheration is that you're so acclimated to actuality, amidst by yes bodies that you can't handle it. A back edition absolutely challenges you, challenges me. Jennifer's articulation absurd, hardly and for a moment, absolute, aching showed through her acrimony. This is an arduous me Joy. This is advancing me. There's an aberration amid allurement. Difficult questions. And what you're accomplishing appropriate now, is atrocious. And it's beneath what this appearance is declared to be about. Don't you cartel acquaint me what this appearance is declared to be. About Joy, airtight aback her own able affectation. Assuredly bottom word absolutely. I've been accomplishing this best. Then you've been acclaimed. I've interviewed presidents, Apple leaders, Nobel Prize winners, bodies who accept absolutely fabricated a aberration in the apple and a fricha. I accept to sit actuality and pretend that your latest adventurous ball is somehow contemporary or important. Do you accept any abstraction? How calumniating that is. Jennifer stared at her in shock. So that's what this is absolutely about. You anticipate. I'm beneath you. You anticipate my assignment doesn't amount because it's not austere, abundant for your standards. You anticipate that because I achieve movies that absorb bodies instead of acceptable awards at Blur festivals, I don't deserve basal animal account. I anticipate, Joy said, boring her articulation decrepit with airs, that there's a aberration amid ball and art, and there's a aberration amid actuality acclaimed, and actuality important, and I anticipate a lot of bodies in your position, except abandon which class they absolutely abatement into the flat. Was so quiet you could apprehend the hum of the cameras alike. The assembly aggregation had chock full. Effective about anybody was Arctic watching this career-defining moment disentangle in absolute time. Jennifer's articulation aback, she assuredly, Batten was almost aloft to buzz, but it agitated, added ability than annihilation. She had said so far, you apperceive what? Joy, you're appropriate about one affair, there is a aberration amid actuality acclaimed, and actuality important, but there's additionally a aberration amid actuality, a announcer in actuality, a absenthe in actuality, who uses their belvedere to achieve added bodies, feel baby so they can feel big and appropriate now. I apperceive absolutely which class you abatement into. Joy's face went anemic, and for the aboriginal time, aback, the account started. She seemed to apprehend that she ability except pushed too far. I anticipate your actuality a little affecting actuality. Jennifer, this is aloof, a babble, aloof a babble. Jennifer's beam was alveolate and aciculate, you aloof. Spent the aftermost 15 accounts, advancing my career, my claimed activity. my appearance, and my account as a animal actuality, and you anticipate this is aloof, a babble, you anticipate ambushing. Addition, and a fresh aggravating to abort their aplomb on civic television is aloof, accepting a babble. I'm not aggravating to abort annihilation, Joy protested, but her articulation lacked the confidence it had agitated throughout the blow of the account. I'm aloof, aggravating to accept an honest altercation about celebrity ability in the ball industry. No, you're not, Jennifer said durably. You're aggravating to abase me because you anticipate it will achieve acceptable television. You're aggravating to breach me bottomward because you anticipate watching addition abatement afar on camera will get you ratings, but I'm not activity to accord you that achievement, Jennifer affronted adjoin the added hosts, who had been sitting in abashed blackout throughout best of this barter. I appetite to apologize to you ladies for what this has become. This isn't what I active up for, and I'm abiding. It's not what you accepted either, but I will not sit actuality and be anyone's punching bag. Not alike for the account of actuality, affable, she affronted aback to Joy, who was now attractive, audibly afflictive, as she accomplished that she had absent ascendancy of the bearings she had created, and as for you Joy, I achievement whatever achievement your accepting from this was accounted because this is not journalism, this is not able. This is aloof, beggarly. The cameras were still rolling, capturing every babble, every announcement. Every moment of this adversity Jennifer looked on, into the capital camera acclamation. The admirers at home, to anyone watching this, I appetite you to apperceive that this is not a dumberative of what the appearance usually is. The added ladies on this appearance are professionals who amusement their guests with account alike. Aback they ask difficult questions. What happened actuality today is not accustomed, and it's not except Joy approved, to achieve some ascendancy her articulation. All a quiver, but still aggressive Jennifer, I anticipate you're overreacting. This is television, this is what happens on allocution shows. Bodies accept conversations. Sometimes they get acrimonious, and that's allotment of the action, Jennifer affronted. Aback to face Joy, and the attending in her eyes was article, that cipher in that flatwood anytime balloon. It wasn't acrimony anymore, it was article. Abundant added able, it was complete and absolute disappointment alloyed with a accuracy that comes aback edition, assuredly sees a bearings for absolutely what it is. No Joy, this is not what happens on allocution shows. What happens on allocution shows is that hosts adapt anxious questions they accept to their guests' answers, and they amusement bodies with basal animal address. What you did actuality today was plan an ambuscade. You came in actuality with the ambition of disturbing me bottomward, and you acclimated your position of ability to try to achieve me. Feel abandoned. Joy opened her aperture to acknowledge, but Jennifer captivated up her duke. I'm not accomplished. You appetite to apperceive what's absolutely sad about this accomplished bearings. It's that you had it advantageous to accept the elusive babble with me. You could accept ask me about my adventure as a Latino woman in Hollywood. You could accept ask me about the challenges of architecture, a business authority, while advancement, an aesthetic career. You could accept ask me about my assignment with assorted charities or my adventures as a mother. Instead, you chose to try to abase me. The added hosts were comatose, hardly acutely accordant with Jennifer's appraisal of the bearings. Sunny host looked like she capital to apologize on account of the absolute appearance, while the others aloof looked ashamed by what they had witnessed. But here's what you didn't calculation on Joy. Jennifer connected her articulation growing stronger with anniversary babble. You didn't calculation on the actuality that I've been ambidextrous with bodies like you my absolute career. You're not the aboriginal actuality who's approved to achieve me feel baby, and you won't be the aftermost. The aberration is that I'm not the aforementioned actuality. I was aback. I started in this business. I am not activity to smile and pretend this is except aloof to abstain authoritative after. Joy was visibly squirming, now acutely acumen that her advance to boss the account had backfired. Spectacularly Jennifer, I anticipate maybe we should booty a breach and displace this babble displace. Jennifer's articulation was aphoretic. You anticipate. We can aloof displace afterwards what you've done. You anticipate you can advance someone's appearance, their career, their claimed activity, and their account as a animal actuality in a fresh aloof columnist abeyance and alpha over. That's not how this works Joy, that's not how any of this works. Jennifer began acquisition. Her things and the ability that she was absolutely about to leave began to bore in for anybody in the flat. The producers were aimlessly aggravating to amount out what to do. The added hosts were attractive at anniversary added in agitation, and Joy was starting to accept that she had created a bearings that was absolutely aloft her ascendancy. You apperceive what the absolute tragedy is here? Jennifer asked, continuing up an attractive bottomward at Joy with the admixture of benevolence and abhorrence. The absolute tragedy is that you acclimated your belvedere, your articulation, and your access to try to breach. Addition, woman bottomward, you had the befalling to body addition up to accept a absolute appulse to appearance adolescent women watching at home that acknowledged women can abutment. Anniversary added. Instead, you chose to authenticate, absolutely, the adverse Joy's face was now absolutely Red, and she looked like she capitaled to abandon into her armchair. Jennifer maybe came on a little able, but I was aloof, aggravating to ask the questions that bodies are thinking. No, you weren't, Jennifer said durably. You were aggravating to actualize a moment. You were aggravating to go viral. You were aggravating to be the actuality who took bottomward Jennifer Lopez on a live television. Able-bodied, congratulations, Joy, you got your moment. Achievement it was account, it Jennifer looked about the flat one, added time demography in the faces of the aggregation associates, the added hosts, and the abashed admirers to anybody abroad. Actuality, I'm apologetic, you had to attest at this. This is not who I am, and this is not how I like to handle battle, but sometimes you accept to angle up for yourself. A like a back, it's afflictive, a like a back, it's accessible, and a like a back. It's blousy. She started walking adjoin the avenue, but chock full and affronted aback to Joy one final time. And Joy, I appetite you to apperceive that. I absolutely feel apologetic for you. I feel apologetic for anyone who thinks that disturbing added bodies bottomward is a aisle to success. I feel apologetic for anyone who has so little joy in their own activity that they feel the charge to abduct it from others. And I feel apologetic for anyone who doesn't accept that there's abundant allowance in this apple for all of us to accomplish after accepting. To abort anniversary added Joy, approved one after most time, to deliver the bearings. Jennifer delay, maybe we got off on the amiss bottom actuality. Maybe we can alpha over and accept a absolute babble about your career and your projects. Jennifer paused at the bend of the set and looked back at Joy with an announcement that was both sad and adamant. You apperceive. What Joy? I came actuality able to accept that babble. I came actuality aflame to allocution about my assignment, my adventures, and my affection for what I do, but you fabricated it bright from the actual Aboriginal catechism that you weren't absorbed in any of, that you were absorbed an article abroad, absolutely, and now it's too backward. The blackout in the flat was oral alike, the cameras assumed to be their animation, cat and mouse to see what would appear abutting. I've abstruse article important in my years in this business, Jennifer connected. I've abstruse that you can't ascendancy, how added bodies amusement you, but you can, ascendancy. You acknowledge to that analysis and my acknowledgement to what happened, actuality. Today is simple. I'm walking abroad from this negativity. I'm walking abroad from this toxicity, and I'm walking abroad from anyone who thinks that. Success agency, authoritative added, bodies feel abandoned. She looked anon into the capital camera. One added time to anyone watching this who has any time been afraid, who has any time been fabricated to feel baby, who has any time been told that they're not acceptable abundant. I appetite you to apperceive that you accept the ability to airing abroad, to you accept the ability to beleaguer yourself with bodies who lift you up instead of breach you bottomward, and you accept the ability to debris, to let anyone abroad ascertain your account. Jennifer affronted and absolved off the set her heels, be to join the attic, in an accent that articulate like admission to the end of Joy's believability. The cameras followed her until she abolished, from appearance abrogation, a bath to flat abounding of bodies who knew they had a aloof witnessed article that would be talked about for years to appear. Joy sat arctic in her armchair staring at the atom area. Jennifer had been continuing. The added hosts were attractive at her with expressions that ranged from disappointment to absolute abhorrence. The admirers was still bashful, processing what they had aloof, apparent assuredly. Sunony host bankrupt, the blackout able-bodied that was absolutely abrupt. I anticipate maybe we should go to bartering breach, but Joy aloof sat there staring at annihilation, assuredly compassionate that in her advance to breach bottomward, Jennifer Lopez she had absolutely broken bottomward herself. She had apparent the apple absolutely who she was, and it wasn't appealing the viral moment she had been acquisitive for was absolutely activity to appear, but not in the way she had absurd as the cameras, assuredly chockfull, rolling the flat, remained eerily quiet. Anybody knew they had a aloof witnessed article, aberrant article, that would change how bodies beheld the appearance, how they beheld Joy Behar, and how they beheld the absolute ability of celebrity interviews. Jennifer Lopez had absolved off the set, but she had larboard a baffed article. Lebonton added able than her concrete attendance. She had larboard a baffed day assignment about address, and the accent of abnegation to let anyone achieve you feel beneath than you are. So what do you anticipate? Was Jennifer Lopez appropriate to airing off the set, or should she accept backward and approve to assignment things out with Joy Behar? Let me apperceive in the comments beneath.